Alrighty then. Alrighty. Yeah, welcome back to like a. This is not really a Khaiza dojo or not like a real talk or anything. The Khaiza's gonna be reviewing Dungeon Fighter Duel, DNF Duel, the hot fresh new like fighting game that came out. Well, one of two like fighting games that has come out in this month, like in late June / early July, that has been like taking like the world by like storm. Well, one of them is, but also like DNF is also taking the world by storm. And yeah, it's been like what? The game's been out technically like a month and like some days, right? Like DNF Duel like came out around a very particular time and around a very particularly extensive and exhausting like time of gaming, and that is, you know, Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak. There was also, what else also like came out? Oh, Cuphead DLC, that was also there. So just like a triple threat of video games that were like coming out. Oh, and there was also like before DNF Duel was Capcom Fighting Collection, and that came out like on Friday, like very like 4 days before DNF Duel. And you know, at that time everybody was like DNF like craze. Everybody was just like jumping on to like the next big like anime fighter, and this looked like it was gonna be the next big anime fighter, you know? Like, it looks great, it looks good. There you go. It looks great, it looks good. It was Arc System Works, obviously, because of how characters look so fresh. Like, it looks something out of like Guilty Gear Xrd, right? And it's made by like, well, published by Arc System Works, but it was made by Eiting and Eiting, or like AIGHTING, Eiting.Inc, Eiting Inc. or some shit like that. I have to like look that up. And they are the guys responsible for making games such as Marvel 3. Marvel 3 was like their big game. There was also the Naruto Clash of Ninja games back on the GameCube. And I've also heard that like they've also made like some of the Bloody Roar games, right? Eiting, back on like the GameCube PS2 era. And yeah, they're pretty much like well known for like their crazy balls to the wall like gameplay, fundamental breaking like fun. Like characters can do like so much like stuff that it's insane, and it especially shows with DNF Duel. And albeit they're not like crazy like tag team fighters like Marvel 3, nor are they like a 3D like quote unquote arena like how the Ultimate Ninja, Naruto Clash of Ninja games are. But this game is definitely unique in a lot of like, in a few like key factors, but oh no, we can talk about those key factors, right? This game is very unique in the sense that like it's a very accessible fighting game, right? It's a very easy to learn fighting game, but every character has like their different like unique traits to them, right? Each one doesn't feel like they are similar to one another. It feels like very a Darkstalkers type of game, you know how like, except for like Morgan and Lilith, and then there are some editions like John Talbane and then Dark Talbane, some like Japanese exclusive editions of Darkstalkers. Characters feel like they are not the same from one another. They are not the same from one another. Each character in like Darkstalkers is completely different, and so is the case for DNF Duel, right? And it goes to show that like some of these like characters, you know, as their name suggests, heavily follow their own like play styles, and that's what like makes them unique. Like grappler is grappler, or striker is striker, hitman is hitman, ghostblade is ghostblade. You know, like there's a lot of like, you know, accessibility factors that are in DNF Duel, and that's pretty smart, not only in terms of names but also just in gameplay wise, right? Let's talk about like the big like gameplay of DNF Duel, right? And this is like from the betas like backwards to like the main game like onwards, right? DNF Duel is an accessible game, and how it's accessible is that, well, control scheme wise, there are like, how many buttons are there? There's light attack, heavy attack, then special skill, then MP skill. There's also like a guard button, which is very reminiscent of like games like Soul Calibur and Mortal Kombat, right? Then there's like conversion skill, which we'll like get into a little bit later, but it's essential. Oh, and the awakening skill. The awakening skill button, that's like your ultra button. And so it's basically like, you could say it's a 7-button fighter, right? It's a 7-button fighter, but mostly you could say it's also a 6-button fighter, and that will also get like a pass, you know? So DNF Duel is a fighting game, right? But it's very easy and generous to new players. And what I mean by that is that there are, of course, there are like motion inputs in DNF Duel, right? Like there are your fireball forwards, your fireball backs, and your DPs. And I don't think anyone has like a different motion, right? There's no like reverse. Well, there is a reverse CB if you like switch sides, but there's no. Yeah, there's no churn the butter, or there's no like down inputs, there's no charge motions or anything like that, right? It feels like everybody has like the 3 main fundamental motions for fighting games, and those are the 3 like fireball, DP, and Tatsu, right? Everybody just has like those 3 moves, and that's what makes them like accessible. And not only that, right? There are simple inputs, right? So similarly to like Power Rangers Battle for the Grid and Granblood Fantasy Versus, a lot of like your most of like your motion inputs are also tied to simple inputs, so that when you throw out like a fireball forward, for instance, right? Like fireball forward motion for a certain character, you could input that motion with MP skill, obviously. All the motions are like tied to like MP skills. You could input forward MP skill, and you will get that same like and you will get that same move. So it's very easy it's very less stressful and very easy for newcomers to just like come in and play DNF Duel and just like have fun. It is a very like, it's a not challenging as fuck fighting game. It's a very easy coming, new to learn like fighting game. But there is like obviously like hard to master, because like this is where like the aiding like crazy bonkers like gameplay aesthetics come in for DNF Duel, is that it's a very combo heavy game, right? There's a lot of like interesting, cool looking, wacky, and sometimes even like explosive combos that are in DNF Duel, right? Like, we have definitely tasted that a little bit in the beta, because, you know, in the betas, your only job was to like play people in lobby matches and just figure out the buttons and controls and go have fun. That's it. And a lot of us playing DNF were like super gypped, that, not gypped, but like we're highly anticipating DNF because of like the crazy chains and combos that you can do with certain characters after playing like, you know, let's say like an AI if the online is down. or playing against like people, and it's really fun. It's really fun. Like, you could like chain MP skills on top of NP skills, and you could just have like a blast doing the same thing over and over again. Like, you certainly feel flashy for even doing like the simplest of shit. But when you go higher in like skill level, when you actually like lap these characters, right, it actually feels so like amazing to like figure out, like, this is like a lab like type of game, same way as like Marvel 3 was, you know, where you pick certain characters or pick a character, figure out what they do, and it's like, oh wait, you can do that? You can do this and that with like an MP skill? You find so many like crazy like possibilities with DNF Duel, and that's where like I kind of like resonate towards when it comes to like my fighting games. It's like, how much crazier can I get with these like characters? And you know, it shows, right? Like, I can definitely do this, I can definitely do that, I can expand my horizons and open up some branches in my mind that like, wait, I can do this, or wait, I can do that. It's like what I like talked about before with like my personal favorites with like fighting games. What my favorite aspects of fighting games is like, open up the doors of possibilities. What can you do? And I don't necessarily like games that really don't let you do that. Like, let's say like MK11, for instance, right? MK11 was like a game that I got like super hyped about and like was super jazzed about in the early phases of MK11. But when I got to play more of the game, and when I was streaming like newer characters, newer DLC characters in MK11's timeline, I started realizing that MK11 just like, they give you cool characters, but they take away a lot of stuff and just make it like super balanced and not very fun at all, right? Like, I don't like that, right? Like, for example, I was playing Spawn in MK11, and I was super jazzed about the character because look at all the crazy horseshit that you can do with like the Hell Spawn weapons of Spawn. And he was just like a basic, he turned out to be not too great for me. Like, every move that I would like kind of do comes with like a cost, right? Like, he would have like a move that would take away offense and defense, and every move that, some chains that he would do would like cause like fatal blow. But again, you're taking away offense and defense and taking away like max like damage output just so you could get like the cool shit, you know? And I kind of really don't like that, because like MK11 just kind of like staled down for me. They really much made it into like the Street Fighter type of style, where it's like tick throw into like grab, or like strike throw into grab, and that's how you like win most matches. And the best characters that came out of MK11 are like characters like Cassie Cage or Cetrion or Aaron Black, right? Some of the more like cheap like zoning characters, right? Of course, you're allowed to like pick a character, you're allowed to like win with them, but nah, it just doesn't feel like cool and all as like a spectator just to like watch that, nor is it fun to like play them, you know? Like, I would like spend days in MK11 and I would just not feel that. But as for like DNF Duel, right? I would just like, every time I like log back into DNF, I would just like find ways or like find new possibilities. Like, even like the training, right? Even like the trials, right? That was like where I was like heading towards when it comes to like DNF Duel. Is like, the trials are some of the most like fun and expected like of things that I wanted out of like DNF Duel, right? Because there are certainly like loops with characters, right? This game is an hiding game, obviously, and characters can do like certain things that like, you know, wouldn't be possible, but it is like possible. So you can do like short loops with characters. You can do like Ghostblade OTG loop, and then like go for like 80% combo, right? Like, the boundless like possibilities of DNF Duel is so goddamn amazing that it just keeps drawing me back in to like play more. Like even if I'm playing online, the game just like continues to like open my like fucking brain and enter galaxy mode. Like, what can I do with this, or like what can I do with that? You know, it's super fucking insane, right? And I just love that. I love like that aspect that DNF offers, right? And once you like know how to do them, it's like, oh boy, get ready for like potentially TOD, right? Because this game can potentially like just one touch death to you, right? It is a kind of like a Marvel game, and kind of like some of the older games before that like IDing made, is that oh, 1 or 2 touches, you're dead. You're fucking dead. If you have meter, if you have like awakening skill, but those are like comeback mechanics, right? And those where it's like only allowed. You start off with base health, like yellow bar health, and then you have like 100 MP, right? But the thing about like the MP is that there's also an interesting gameplay mechanic for DNF Duel, is that it's a recoverable MP, right? And you might say like, oh, you can recover MP like other fighting games. Why is this like so special? Instead of recovering MP or recovering meter in normal methods, like hitting the opponent or like taking damage from the opponent or like doing like block strings and all that stuff, the MP meter refills, right, automatically on its own. So you have like a refill, you have like a timed refillable MP bar that if you get like enough MP, you could just like snipe away or like just do cool shit if you have the right momentum. And goddamn, DNF just like has that. And this is where like the simple and like technical skills come into play, right? Simple skills are of course easier on like new beginners or newcomers to fighting games. But if you throw out like an MP skill, like something like heavy, like a 50 like point like MP skill, right? If you do it with just like a simple skill, like with like down MP, down MPS, then your meter won't recover as quickly as possible. It will stay for like a short time, and then it will refill. Whereas if you do like the technical input, like let's say like DP for instance, DP, MP skill, MPS, then you see your meter like quickly like recover, the refresh rate will like come back and you get like meter back. And of course there is one hidden skill which I have not found, but if you press like certain buttons like skill and MP skill, then you get like your meter like all the way back, but I would have to like double check on that. But it's like a reward system for DNF Duel in terms of like execution, right? Like you can do simple skills, but the reward will be less. If you do technical skills, then the reward will be greater because you'll get like a little bit of your MP back. And that's really interesting. That's like, you know, a good fucking incentive that, oh, these inputs are like kind of hard, you know, I can't do like a fireball, I can't do like a DP. Well, you have simple motions. You can still win with simple motions. Believe me, you can definitely like mash out of things to like get what you want to have in life. But, right, if you really are interested in this fighting game, if you really are willing to like learn and like love how like the game works, then MP skills, like the technical MP skills, are good for that, right? They're definitely good for that because you can like do things that you normally wouldn't do in DNF Duel. That is just like normally wouldn't do. No, let me rephrase that. super easy, super fun, and it's one of those like games where it's easy to learn, and then it's like hard to master, because at that level, once you like are interested in playing DNF Duel, once you start like figuring stuff out, then you'll have to master like fighting game fundamentals, like movement, what's your right amount of like offense, on top of like learning a character, right? Oh, and there's also another skill which I forgot to mention, which is conversion skill. And conversion skill, think of it like Tatsunoko versus Capcom, right? Remember that one cool system that you exchange like all of your red health or your recoverable damage health, the red bar after the red bar that's like next to your like green health. You can exchange that depending on like how small or like how big it is. You can exchange that for a neutral position, right? So if you're like, let's say, doing like an unsafe move, right? Like Ghost Blade's triple slash skill move, right? You would press conversion skill, and that's with heavy and skill. So you can like cancel your skill with conversion skill, go back to neutral, and then mix up and then second guess your opponent. Like you can go run up for a grab, you can go switch sides, and it slows down time. It slows down time for everything else. So it's kind of like I think it's like kind of like a Roman cancel sort of thing. But that's like one of those like hard to learn type of like aspects, because like you don't normally get conversion skill like right off the bat. It's not like an RC like in Guilty Gear where you spend some meter, like a half bar, just to be in a safe position. You have to like identify if you have white health or red health in DNF Duel. And the only problem is that DNF Duel is a game where like a lot of juggling comes from your MP skills, and MP skills is like your special moves that cost a meter, obviously, but they also take away the ability for you to do conversion skill. So if you got hit from a MP skill like from afar or like maybe close up, and after he was like done juggling you with like light, medium to skills, and you have all of this like white bar in the world to like do crazy mix-ups, guess what? That's gone. If he hits you with an MP skill, then that shit's gone. Then you just have to like hold back to block or hold guard to block, and you just have to find the right opportunity to punish. But then of course there is a alpha counter, or like a guard break move in this game, and that's by if you're blocking and if you have 100%, if you have 100 like meter / MP, then you can tell the opponent to like, ooh, get off me type of thing. It goes back to like full screen mode, and then you just wait for the next engagement, or like wait for the next time to like strike. So these are like the gameplay elements of DNF Duel. As for like character gameplay, I think I've already like teased upon that, right? Like each character is unique, but each character is so fresh and so like unique that they don't feel like they're the same, right? Of course, like I said that, right? And then of course, you know, there are some like similarities, like two characters can technically be considered like zoners, like Ranger and Launcher. They are like the zoners of the game. They have long range like options. They have full screen options that will like blow characters that are close up or mid screen, like Grappler or Ghost Blade, right out of the sky. But the thing is, right, like they really are the best at their own like playing field, right? Each character is unique. Yes, obviously, they are unique. However, they also have like weaknesses as well, right? And each character is pretty unique. No, sorry. Let me rephrase that, or let me like backtrack that, right? Let me backtrack that a little bit. Like they are so cool when they're at their own like playing style, you know? And each character has like different traits, as obviously they are like an anime fighter, right? And usually with an anime fighter, each character has like a unique trait that separates them from like the pack. Like this we seen in like Darkstalkers, this we seen in Killer Instinct, right? Especially. This game takes a little bit of that from like Killer Instinct in the sense that each character has a different like awakening or like instinct. Each character has like a base skill that makes them like really good. And each one has like a certain like low health condition that makes them like, oh, this is my comeback moment. Each character has like an awakening that if you're like at 30% or like lower, your character gets special buffs. Gets special buffs if you do it. Let's say like Vanguard, for instance. Vanguard is a super oppressive character from the mid-screen to like maybe even like full screen because of his giant ass like Lancelot sweep shit. When he's at awakening mode, he can essentially do like a lot of chip damage or to an extent like a fast like guard break. Because if he has like 30%, all of his moves do greater chip damage than usual. And then of course there's like Striker, for instance. Everybody's favorite girl, everybody's favorite like big booby like punchy girl. Essentially she has an innate skill that allows her to essentially reverse beat. And so for those that don't know what reverse beat is, reverse beat is a skill in fighting games that traditionally there is light, medium, and heavy. That's the traditional like low to heavy, or like low to high like fighting game combo essentials, right? And you can't press heavy attack to a light attack because the game doesn't allow that. The game prevents you from doing that. However, there are certain characters in fighting games that allow you to technically break your combo chains and actually press every button in your arsenal. So with Striker, let's say she does like dive kick move, that's like an air special type of move, and then she cancels it to like light punch. So that essentially makes her like dive kick super safe because she could technically cancel out of any other move that makes her unsafe into a light and return her back to neutral and just continue oppression. Right? That's some like degenerate shit. Holy fuck. Then of course there is what other characters are there, right? Oh, like Hitman, for instance. Hitman essentially has like a move that's hidden away in Awakening, and it's like on the ground, it's a crumple state, but it's a second like MP skill that only Hitman is allowed to have, and it's just like, okay, I'm gonna get away with this, I'm gonna go ham, watch what I do. And that's also another degenerate thing. But yeah, characters are unique, characters are awesome in their own way. Each character has unique skills like special debuffs and abilities, which, you know, talking about them kind of makes sense because that's what like the original ideas were for Dungeon Fighter Online, because like DNF or DFO, for instance, was like a PvP or like a PvE like mobile game made in China, or was it like Korea? And you get to control like a class of a character, and all the characters in DNF Duel are essentially like those classes, whether it be like base form or upgraded form, right? We don't know, right? For those that don't know, for those that do know, oh my god, hit me up on like those comments or anything like that. I am curious. But the characters are essentially classes, right? They're different like groups, right? And hence that's why like their names are like that. They're not like indicators of a fighting game that like, oh, they're the rushdown character, oh, that's the grappler, you know? Those are intentional as fuck like names from the actual DFO game itself. And total, there are like 16 characters in total for DNF Duel, and we haven't heard anything from Arc System Works or IDing about any potential like character passes or anything like that, but who knows, that could change because EVO is literally tomorrow, so it could happen, let's see, right? I'm expecting some kind of like DLC for this game. I just want to know, I just want to see, but, right, DNF Duel is an awesome game because like it offers a lot of like possibilities, has a lot of like flair and charm, you know, you could replay it for like hours, you could find new stuff that you never have seen before and just like have fun. And that's for like characters and gameplay. Now, there are other things that make DNF Duel like pretty good, and that's like the main thing for a fighting game is the online. The online of DNF Duel, from what I've played and from what I've played from the betas, is hella addicting. It's super fun, right? It is rollback netcode, the greatest like God-given descent, God-given invention for fighting games, and it just makes online play really smooth. DNF is like no exception. Add rollback to like any fighting game, it's super fun. It makes like connections feel seamlessly smooth, right? And you could just like get into matches like 1, 2, and 3, depending on like where you live. I mean, there are of course, you know, some things that are like a little bit whack, like if you go to like the ARAD continent, that's like their default setting. It's rough. It's rough because you got either like weight or like matchmaking is a little bit off. But so far the matchmaking is pretty good because and what matchmaking is that the game will like connect you to a player somewhere like around the world, connect from your PC to the server, and then to like the player you are about to face, and then that's like the match is made. That's like the I forgot what it is called, like the handshake that happens between. And the matchmaking is good, so that because like bad signs of matchmaking is that if you encounter one person, then the matchmaking will default to like that same person you just fought like 5 minutes ago, and yeah, you're not getting any like random people. You want to, in a fighting game, you want to face as many different foes as you possibly can, not fight like the same person, and that will be the result of your like online training like experience, right? No, you want to have an experience from a wide plethora of different players, because who knows, right? This striker could play different from that striker. This Ghostblade is different from that Ghostblade. Who am I facing next? Who am I facing next? This is a Ranger player. I hope it's not the same Ranger player as before, someone else different. And DNF Duel does a pretty spot-on job at the matchmaking elements to connect to other people, right? I don't feel like I've been fighting the same person with a bad connection. There are some baddies out there. I haven't like, no. I'm trying to like remember that. Did I fight any like baddies, bad connections in DNF Duel? I think like one, because you gotta have like one or maybe like a few, but for the majority of like my DNF Duel matches just felt hella fun. Like, I feel like I could do like anything with like rollback netcode. It just feels super fun. There's no instances of like characters teleporting or like the game like freezes. There are like crashes right here and there, but that's like matchmaking, trying to like, you know, matchmake, and that's all you really can do. Excuse me. But yeah, the online feels super good. The online is like really like organized, right? It's nothing like Guilty Gear levels of online perfection, like Strive for instance. It had like the perfect like ranked system and the perfect like online environment. But DNF Duel does its best job in that if you go to DNF like right now, right? If you just like got DNF and you want to go into online, and if you want to like play some people, you first have to like go through like the online requisites. Like, do you want to be placed in bronze? Do you want to be placed in silver? Or do you want to be placed in gold? So that in and of itself is very smart because very similar. Oh wait, you get like 3 different choices of bronze, silver, and gold, and what you like pick is you're gonna be placed in that like area, and that's good, right? It's not like Guilty Gear where it's a very heavily structured like ranking system behind it, and you have to fight like a training dummy to figure out where you're going to be placed and what rank you're going to be in, right? And that's how you like rank up. Because in Guilty Gear, if you're placed in like Tower 6 or like Tower 7, that's the tower you're going to be facing. You're going to be facing people around that skill level. And in DNF Duel, if you're placed in like bronze, you're going to be placed with bronze players. And that's smart. That's smart. You want to play people that are around your difficulty level, around your skill level. You don't want to fight someone that's like either too small for you or too big for you, because you're not going to get much like learning experience from those people, right? And that's like smart of devs. That it's such like a great advancement, because like before these like new innovations, new accessible features that DNF Duel, let's say, and Guilty Gear Strive has, you just have to like pray to God that you have to like get someone that's like around your skill cap, or you get someone like a sweaty, or like someone that's like a piss hand, and you just have to like play those matches, right? Now fighting games are a lot more smarter, that like, alright, we want to have players like get adjusted to DNF Duel. We want players to like actually have fun with their game and like progress as they like raise their ranks in online. Let's rework our fighting game network and actually get players play with the same skill rank or similar skill rank as those people, you know? And I always appreciate that, because you get so much more benefits from playing the same person around your skill level, right? You don't normally learn anything from someone like high up, right? Like, let's say if you fight like a sweaty who's like absolutely dominating you in like in a 10-game streak. Sure, you could be like okay with it, but there will be a time where it's like, okay, I'm done. I don't want to play anymore. That just like loses the spirit of playing it anymore, right? Nor would you want to play someone that's like lower than you, because, for instance, if the person is not learning, or like you're also not learning as well, like what do I do in this situation, or what do I do in that situation? He's not like learning, he's just like pressing buttons. Might as well just like capitalize on that, and it becomes like repetitive. So it's good to have like a good balance. It's good to have a good challenge, not an overwhelming challenge, but a good challenge. And DNF Duel certainly allows that. And then of course there's the lobby system of DNF Duel, which is pretty impressive. it is very reminiscent to Granblood lobbies or Guilty Gear XR lobbies with like the chibi characters, and then you fight in like different like arcade machines. That's really nice because, you know, as much as Guilty Gear Strive is like very good and how well it's doing in terms of like numbers and like how good the online is, the lobbies are kind of ass in Strive, right? Like, I really don't like the fucking polygonal models, or what was it, like the 16-bit models that are in Guilty Gear Strive. Like, that was supposed to be like an April Fool's joke. It's still there. It's a thing. It exists. That's how it is. So the lobbies are cool. As far as single-player content goes, it's pretty much standard for your traditional fighter, right? Like, you play a character, you do like survival, arcade, and there's like story mode. And story mode is just like a bigger version of the arcade ladder. And there are like 2 arcades in this game. There's regular arcade where you play as a character and you fight like a big-ass enemy. And then there's a story arcade where you play a character, view some cutscenes all the way through, view some hokey bullshit of like what makes DNF, and then that's it. Yeah, just very traditional, very like straightforward stuff. Nothing crazy, incredible, or interesting about like DNF Duel's single-player content. And you know, that's kind of like disappointing, right? I mean, I don't mind it, of course, right? I love like going through arcade ladders and facing like the challenge, right? You guys see me with like Cyberbots and like Super Pocket Fighter, all that jazz. But sometimes, well, what I think fighting games need to like transform their single player content, you know, right? Not to the levels of like copy and paste from NetherRealm, because NetherRealm is like in a whole another different level of cinematic storytelling, but you know, just make like a single player content mode in a fighting game that, you know, makes sense, right? That actually sticks with the game's like core like identity. Like for instance, DNF Duel, it's originally like a fucking beat 'em up PvP/PvE type of like game. How cool would it be that you could like fight like waves of enemies, do all this shit, rack up like combos and points, then fight like an enemy, like a character, rinse and repeat, and then fight like the final boss, right? Because that's originally what DFO is, right? And I was kind of like hoping a little bit of that, but unfortunately it wasn't. It was what I was like expecting. It was a very traditional like Arc System Works like style type of like story mode, and that's all it is. Yeah, like I think like Granblood did something like similar where you can play as like 2 players in like a JRPG type of like style. Not really JRPG, like, you know, select like icons on the menu bar, but you get to like 1 player, 2 player it up, like co-op shit. Like you play it as if like you're in a fighting game beat 'em up, and you just have fun. And like that was like the only time where fighting games really had like a interesting single player mode that was very unique, and that's pretty badass. But DNF Duel didn't have that, and I'm kind of like hoping for that like fighting games really like change up their formula for single players, right? You can have like arcade ladders, you can have like cinematic like story modes, right? But you know, sometimes like change is a good thing. Sometimes you want to experiment on things that, you know, of course experimenting can be also bad as well, but take a chance, take a dive, right? I want to see like how well you can like attract the general crowd, because, you know, fighting games don't have like that general crowd, right? fighting games are meant for like fighting game players. And that's what they offer. That's what they offer to like a specific niche crowd. And single player content can only go so much for a fighting game. That's why like Smash Brothers and Mortal Kombat do so well, because like one is a very like Marvel style type of like movie. The other is like, well, of course there's roster. That's his thing in Smash Brothers. But Smash has like World of Light, where you fight like light half, dark half, whatever the fuck, and you recruit like combatants, and then you play like an RPG like type of style. It's very like, okay, instead of just like online and facing with dudes, I can actually do something for myself by myself, sort of thing, right? And that's pretty cool. So I'm kind of like hoping that like maybe future fighting games will eventually like do that. I'm hoping that like SF6 will potentially do that, right? We saw like little hints that like you could be a creative character and then you could roam the world and be a Street Fighter and fight like Street Fighter icons. That would be pretty cool. I'm kind of hoping for that. But overall, DNF Duel, I would say like it's an 8. I would say it's like an 8 out of 10 like fighting game. It's very fun, it's very cool. However, it was, and I gotta like put this out forward, right? DNF Duel was like, you know, side by side with Multiverses, and considering how Multiverses has been doing like successfully, right? Like we talked about this in a YouTube video in a stream before, that Multiverses is just getting such high numbers for a game that's being, you know, free to play, and it's a Smash clone, and it's a wackadoodle type of like platform fighter with, you know, Batman versus Bugs Bunny. I shit you not, it's like Batman versus Bugs Bunny. That's like an actual thing now, and it's not just like a fever pitch dream / Mugen project. Multiverses, the last report I have seen in terms of like their Steam charts is like 140k. That's like their all-time peak. 140k. It just goes to show that's what happens when you make a fighting game like free to play. Free to play. Essentially free to play. You don't have to spend any money. And fighting games, I want to say free to play. They should be free to play. Fighting games alone, as of what they are right now, they are a big fucking investment. Games nowadays cost like what? $60, right? 60, 40, or even like $50. And that's a lot of money being spent on just like a game, right? Like, practically speaking, you need that money for like, if you need help with like if you need someone to help out with groceries, or you need to buy clothes, or you need to buy like food for the day, which is very important. You need some like nutrients or some good tasting morsels. Fighting games don't offer that, right? Generally, you spend like $60 for something like Elden Ring, or some like crazy ass like JRPG that offer you so much like bang for your buck that you're actually like invested in completing or doing this game. Whereas in fighting games, they, like I said, they don't have a lot of single player content. The main purpose or drive of a fighting game is to like play a character in a fighting game, learn its moves, learn how to play the game, and then jump into online and then whoop some ass or get ass whooped. There's not a lot of like contention or motivation or drives to play more of a fighting game than what you would get in an RPG or a shooter or an action game you just get more worth it. Well, then again, with like shooters, right? Shooters are really easy to learn. Play something like that, like Valorant or like Halo or something like League, where like 10 times more easier, depending on things and factors. Fighting games don't like stand a chance. Games like the ones I just mentioned, they're just so much more better, you know. But yeah, like that's DNF Duel, right? That's DNF Duel. Did the best that I can. Did the best talking abilities that I could like muster up. Like I'm fucking like choking on my throat, right? Because like I'm not used to like talking so much. But yeah, DNF Duel is great. It's cool. It's $40. Well, no, sorry, not $40. $50. If you want to like play this game and like have fun being like a fighting game fan, go nuts, right? But then of course there's Multiverses that's free to play, so you know. Obviously, I kid. DNF Duel is a great game. It's got a lot of like content. It's got a lot of possibilities in like lab mode. You can like go in and play online. Not a lot of single player content, but the online is robust. It's smooth. You will have like a fun time playing like unique characters with their own unique ways. So yeah, 8 out of 10. Good game. Hoping for more content later, and we also got like a message from the DNF Duel developers that there's going to be a balance patch incoming. So I kind of want to see what changes will there be made for DNF Duel. So can't wait to see who's going to get buffed, who's going to get nerfed, all that shit.